You're listening to The Bloodshed Baddies.
Hi, I'm Lex.
No, I'm Lex.
No, that's a lie.
I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm Sam.
And we are the Bloodshed Baddies.
Happy almost New Year's, baddies.
Whoop, whoop, whoop. We hope you had a wonderful Christmas time if that's what you celebrate. If you don't celebrate Christmas, if you were celebrating any other holidays, I hope you had a wonderful whatever holiday.
Yes, and now we're getting into the new year, which is super exciting. Are you excited, Lex?
I am excited. I love a new year. I love feeling fresh.
So fresh, so fresh, so clean. Do you do like the whole New Year's resolution thing?
I used to this past year, instead of doing a New Year's resolution, I did a vision board.
Ooh, tell me a little bit about that if you don't mind.
My friends and I all decided to get together on New Year's Day and eat cookies and make a vision board.
So
So
cute.
I have mine like on my background on my computer, and I have like a picture of a very nicely decorated house. I wanted to decorate my apartment more, but now I bought a house. So now I got to refocus on that. I
Ooh.
have like a map so I can travel more. I have a piggy bank so I can start budgeting, things like that. Just things that I want to incorporate more of in my life.
I love that. Very nice. I feel like sometimes resolutions are so, there's like so much pressure on a resolution, like especially specific resolutions. So, one thing that works well for me is I try to think in my head, like, what is something that I can do to like improve myself? So, like last year, it was like, I want to be more honest with people about like my feelings and not just like hold them in when my feelings are hurt and things like that. And I really think I did good with that last year. Like, I was pretty honest about things going on. But I like those type of things more than like, I don't know, what are typical resolutions? Like, I want to get back in the gym or something like that.
Yeah,
I think they're more manageable, I guess.
I agree. So, are you ready to get into my case?
Only because I know what it is. My belly hurts about it.
So, this one was also recommended to us by our fabulous listener, Julia.
We love you, Julia.
This case makes me extra spicy.
I love it.
Um, I am doing the Laci Peterson case.
Such a rough case.
So, I know you know it. Are you
Yes.
ready to dive into it?
I guess I have to be.
This also takes place around the holidays, so we're keeping on a holiday theme here these last two episodes.
Ooh.
But let's first get into who was Laci Peterson. Laci Peterson was born in 1975. She grew up on a dairy farm.
Aw.
In high school, she was a cheerleader and a softball player. She attended college at California Polytechnic State University, San Luis Obispo.
A flippin' mouthful, but sounds smarty
Yeah,
farty.
I don't even know if I'm saying all those words right, but a lot of words.
Welcome to the dark side of mispronunciations.
She ended up majoring in horticulture.
Ooh.
She was described as like bubbly and outgoing, very friendly. And one day she went to a restaurant where Scott Peterson worked. Ugh. She thought he was cute, so she kept going back to the restaurant. She eventually like writes her name on a napkin. He accidentally throws it out because he thinks it's trash. But through it all, they end up dating.
Which, if he wasn't a terrible person, that's like a cute meet cute.
It's a very cute, meet cute. Her friends and family describe Scott at the beginning of their relationship as being like very showy. And one of their friends even says, like, we didn't have the term for it back then, but he definitely was like love bombing her.
I hate it.
Which, if you remember from the Gabby Petito case, that's one of the major signs of abuse.
Yes.
So the two were married in 1997, 2 years after they started dating. They also were still in school at this time. In 2000, they moved to Modesto, California in order to be closer to her parents. She was working as a substitute teacher. She loved dragonflies and flowers. In December of 2002, Laci was 8 months pregnant.
Ooh. Also so cute that she's like a substitute teacher and like just sounds so wholesome.
Yes. I did watch part of the documentary on Netflix. I've watched it before, but I only watched part of it while I was researching the case. But from all the articles and everybody in the documentary, like no one had a bad thing to say about Lacey.
She sounds awesome.
On December 23rd, 2002, Lacey visited with her sister in the morning. She went home, she talked to her mom on the phone that evening, and went to bed. On December 24th, 2002,
Christmas Eve also.
yes, they wake up in the morning, her and Scott. Scott says that she was watching Martha Stewart, and her plan for the day was to go grocery shopping and walk the dog. He left for a fishing trip slash golf trip, depending on who asked him what he did that day.
I was just gonna ask, like, is there a golf range near a fishing pond and you like hit a hole in and then go and fish a fish and then do it a new hole or something? I don't know. I was confused.
Yeah, it's very confusing because it's just a different story to everybody. He later clarifies to the police, like, I was gonna go golf, but I woke up. It was too cold. It was a game time decision. So, because it was too cold to golf, I decided to go fishing instead.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense to me. I was gonna ask, like, I'm not a active fisher. Is there more fish out when it's cold? I don't really. If you're not gonna even golf, are you gonna really see in fish? That sounds fishy, fishy. Pun intended.
Very fishy. So he goes and he picks up his boat from his shop and drives 90 miles to the Berkeley Marina
90 miles to fish? They're in
to
California.
fish on a cold, rainy day.
Yeah, bye. Boy, bye.
After about 90 minutes of fishing, he said he left the marina and called Lacey. He leaves her a message on her cell, and it's like, "Hi, beautiful. I'm on my way home from the marina. I'm not going to have time to stop and get that basket for Papa, so can you go get it for me?"
Gag me.
So he gets home, and Lacey's car is in the driveway, but Lacey was not home. The gate was shut, and the dog was out in the backyard with his leash still attached.
Hmm.
Or her. Mackenzie's probably a girl. Apparently, a neighbor found Mackenzie running through the neighborhood with her leash on. So the neighbor put Mackenzie into the backyard and shut the gate.
Okay.
So Scott assumes that Lacey went to her mom's house. He takes
Mm,
off the clothes he's wearing, puts them in the washing machine, and washes these clothes, just these clothes, not a load of laundry. He takes the clothes off his back, puts it into a laundry machine, washes just his shirt and pants, eats a snack, showers, and then calls Lacey's mom.
tell me you're guilty without telling me you're guilty. Also, you have an appetite for a snack.
He ate 2 pieces of pizza and drank a glass of milk, is what he said.
Odd combination. That's a lot of dairy.
A
Freaking,
lot of dairy.
that's a lot of dairy, Scott.
It's a lot of dairy, Scott. So he calls Lacey's mom. She's not there. He's like, okay, she's missing. So Lacey's stepdad, Ron, calls the police.
Good.
Scott calls some of her friends and is like, hey, are you around? He also goes door to door in the neighborhood and asks, like, has anybody seen Lacey? Is Lacey at your house?
Wow.
And then he goes to the park where Lacey would have taken Mackenzie for a walk. And that is where the police meet him. When Lacey's parents get there, he's like, yeah, I was fishing. And they're like, wait, I thought you said earlier you went golfing.
Her poor parents.
And not only are they shocked to learn he went fishing, they're even more shocked to find out he has a boat.
They didn't even know he had a boat, or he's lying about having a boat.
No one knows he has a boat.
He is dumber than a box of rocks.
So Scott, he doesn't seem too concerned about Lacey, which again, as I've said before, people grieve differently. I don't know how I would respond in a situation like that. So I don't want to say it would be perfectly, but it definitely rubbed people the wrong way.
My thing is like if you're gonna put on a show and like go door to door and call her parent and then you're gonna act unconcerned, like you that doesn't you know what I mean? Like you obviously have something in your head saying, oh, I have to put on somewhat of a show, but you're not gonna even act like you're concerned.
Overall, he's just not being super cooperative. He refuses a polygraph test.
Oh my
And
God.
he's not like really keen about the police searching his house and his stuff. He's very like standoffish about it. But this is the time 2002 where like media cycles were going crazy.
Oh, yeah.
So the media take the story and run with it. It is everywhere. You cannot look at a TV without seeing Lacey's picture, Scott's picture, Scott's interviews, the family's interviews. It's just everywhere.
So this turd is also doing interviews.
Yes, not many, but he does do some interviews. On December 28th, the FBI was called in to assist, which is super quickly afterwards. And I think a lot of the reason is because she was 8 months pregnant with Connor.
I forgot about that. She was 8 months pregnant. This. Ugh.
On December 30th, Amber Frey calls the police after a friend brings her an article about her boyfriend, Scott Peterson, and his missing wife.
Can you imagine finding out that your boyfriend had a secret family by a newspaper article saying that his family is missing?
It's a lot, especially when you learn about who Amber Frey was.
Oh boy.
Amber Frey was a single mom.
My gasps. I did not know this.
She said she met Scott on November 20th, 2002, which is only like a little over a month from the time that she's calling police.
This man met his little girlfriend a month ago and then does this.
So they start dating immediately. He told Amber that he was not married. He told Amber that he did not want any more children and her child would be enough for him.
Oh
While
my
his
gosh, I have
wife
chills.
is 7 months pregnant with their son, Connor.
I have no words going through my brain right now because that makes me so angry for both of the women because he's straight up lying to this single mom who is trying to find someone who, could fit into her family.
And
And
wants
then
to
he,
settle down and be serious and be a father.
yes. And he straight up lies to her as he's straight up lying to his wife, who is 8 months pregnant with their first child. This is bonkers.
So there's this famous picture of Scott and Amber at a Christmas party together. On the exact same night as this party, Lacey is pictured at her friend's Christmas party all alone.
No, just he's scum. He's scum. And poor, poor, poor Lacey.
After this Christmas party, a guy who worked for Scott ran into one of Amber's friends. And this friend was actually the one who introduced Scott and Amber. And Scott comes up in the conversation, and the guy says like something about him being married. And Amber's friend calls Scott after that conversation and is like, "You better tell Amber about this or I will."
One, good for frickin' Amber's friend. Real OG. Kudos. Two, Scott's a baby coward because I'm sure this is some influence of what happened, and he is a baby coward brat.
So on December 9th, Scott calls Amber and asks to come over and talk. He says, "I got to tell you something."
Oh, Nelly.
He comes over and he says, "Hey, Amber, I'm really sorry. I lied to you about being married. I recently lost my wife, and this will be my first Christmas without her."
In what world did he think this would not come back to bite him in the butt, first off? In what world? Because one, that can be verified really easily. Two, now you're trying to get sympathy, and there's people out there that really are going through that, so you suck. And three, then you know this is going to be all over the news. So what are you thinking?
He says, "This is going to be my first Christmas without her." Lacey's still alive at this point,
I'm
but
stressed.
foreshadowing, it will be Scott's first Christmas without Lacey.
So planning, because he basically just tells, unbeknownst to her, because of course she probably believes this man, but he's saying, I'm going to murder my wife and child.
He's like, he does that, like, "I'm a victim of my circumstances" thing where he's like, "I'm so sorry I lied. It's okay if you never want to speak to me ever again. Like, it's okay if you want to cut me out of your life altogether." And she's like, "No, no, no, no. Like, I understand why you didn't tell me that right away. Like, this is a hard time for you. I get it. I'm here."
Because she's being understanding. In Cry Me a River, here's a little violin playing for you, you little liar.
When Amber tells the police all this, they say, "That's really odd because December 9th just happens to be the exact same day Scott bought his boat.
No flippin' way.
Hmm.
He buys a boat and then tells his girlfriend this, or vice versa. Either way, a straight up plan.
And not only buys a boat, but hides this boat from everybody in his life.
I, I don't know.
So Amber also tells police that Scott told her, like, I'm going to be out of town with my family for Thanksgiving. And then I'm actually going out of town with my family again for Christmas. And then I'm like going to head over to Paris for New Year's.
To run away.
Yeah. So Amber is a frickin' baddie.
Woo! We love a baddie.
And they look to her and they say, hey, could you keep talking to Scott on the phone like everything's fine? And we'll buy you recording equipment and you'll record all your phone calls with him.
She is such a baddie.
And she's like, 100%, I will do that. Mind you, she's never been trained. The police are not sitting there and coaching her. She's doing this all on her own. They like literally went to Radio Shack, bought a recording device, and hooked it up to her phone.
Incredible.
Overall, by the end of this investigation, she records 29 hours of phone calls with him.
Yeah, she's a baddie. Can you imagine how nerve-wracking that would be, knowing that he killed two people, his wife and his child who was inside his wife, and you have to sit there and record these conversations and hope to not get caught? Like, I would be sweating bullets. Like, I would probably give myself away. And she's just a baddie, like, I'm doing this.
She says in the interviews, like every single time she pressed record, she would be like shaking and she'd be like, this is the time.
Oh my gosh.
On December 31st, there is a vigil held for Lacey and Conner.
Oh, on New Year's Eve.
The media captured two very odd pictures. And again, these might not be super odd in a different circumstance, but given what we know now, they were very odd and they rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. In one, Scott is like bending down near his niece and he's got a pretty big smile on his face. There's also a picture of him with a group of people laughing at his missing wife and son's vigil.
Yeah, because like obviously I know what happened, so he sucks. If I didn't know what happened, I could maybe make the excuse like maybe his friends are trying to make him laugh because he's so upset. Like even if that was the case, I don't think I could even crack a smile or crack a laugh in a situation like that. Like
Definitely not a good look.
no.
Now buckle up your seatbelt for this one.
Oh boy, buckled, ready to go.
After the vigil, Scott calls Amber
Oh
to
my
wish
God.
her a happy new year. The call, they play it on the Laci Peterson documentary on
Oh yeah,
Netflix.
because she recorded it.
And he's literally like, hi, I just wanted to call to wish you a happy new year. I'm right by the Eiffel Tower. Oh my God, it's so huge.
He's legit pretending he's in Paris.
As he's leaving his missing wife and son's candlelit vigil.
Okay, she's even more of a baddie because I would not be able to be like, oh my God, so cool. I would be like, you are the most disgusting human I've ever met in my whole entire life. Beep,
Yeah.
hang up.
Yes.
He has some kahunas to think that tiny kahunas, but to think he can get away with something like this. Come on,
Mm-hmm.
you're a grown man.
Uh-huh. The police, while investigating Scott, are also investigating another lead.
Mm.
Between Christmas Eve and the 26th, a house in Lacey's neighborhood was burglarized.
Ooh.
The exact date is not known because the people who own the house were out of town from the 24th to the 26th. So they left, house was fine, got back, house was burglarized. So it had to take place the 24th, 25th, or the 20th before they got home on the 26th.
Yeah, makes sense.
People start to think that maybe the people who committed the burglary attempted to burgle the Petersons' house and kidnapped Lacey because she was there.
It's not a bad theory. It makes
No.
sense.
So they pretty quickly found the two people who committed the burglary. They were like pretty well known for burglarizing. And like things started coming out on the news to be like these two people were looking for them in connection to a burglary and also the Laci Peterson case. And all of a sudden they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. We are going to come. We are going to cooperate. Yes, we burgled this house. Like, yes, we did it. We didn't touch the Laci Peterson woman.
Yeah, because can you imagine getting that on you?
However, when they admit to this, they say that they burglarized the house on the 27th, which is impossible because the people came home on the 26th to find their house burglarized.
Ooh.
Did they just get the dates wrong because they weren't really paying attention and just burglarizing houses all over the place and they can't remember which one, or, everything was kind of mushy on Christmas? They did both take polygraph tests and both of them passed.
Mm.
And in all the items recovered from the burglary, none were tied to Laci. Also, the 24th, the day that Laci went missing, both the men had alibis. They were with their family for Christmas.
So they're done, out. They're not part of this anymore.
Scott's family believes that these two burglars, I don't know how to say that word, were responsible for the disappearance of Laci
Till this day?
till this day.
Ay, caramba.
On January 3rd, the police print the little picture, the very famous picture of Scott and Amber at the holiday party. Bring Scott in, show it to him, and Scott says, "Do you really think that's me?"
No, he
Like a
didn't.
fucking idiot.
This man, he is what? He really thinks he could say that to the police and they would say, "Oh, you're right. It ain't you. My bad. Wrong picture." What?
He is staring at a picture of himself, looking the police in the eye and saying, "Do you really think that's me? You don't really think that's me, do you?"
I picture him wearing the same shirt as the picture
Stop it. Stop it right now.
and being like, "That's not me." Same like little expression on his face. You really think that's me? Come on. This man is delusional.
Delusional.
Delulu.
So, 3 days later, on January 6th, he calls Amber. Get your fighting gloves ready.
Oh, I got some gloves.
He admits, he says, I have to admit something. I have not been traveling over the last few weeks. He literally says, because this is all recorded so you can listen to it, "You must not have been watching the news lately, have you?" And Amber's
I,
like, "No."
okay, baddie again because I couldn't. I just started laughing there. I would have started laughing. That's insane.
He tells her, "The girl that I'm married to disappeared, and I have just been here searching for her."
Okay. Okay. Even if this was true, even if he was telling the truth, I don't understand what his motive was because then clearly you lied to her about this being the first Christmas away from your wife and that she already died. So, like, what does he expect her to say in this situation?
Well, Amber is just a fucking baddie. And she says, "Wait a minute. On December 9th, you told me you lost your wife."
Yes. Yes.
And he responds, "I did lose my wife."
Like, literally.
And she claps back with, "How did you lose her before she was lost?"
Oh, girl. Mm. Just give this woman an award because that would be terrifying to say to somebody you know that murdered his own wife. And then you're just like, well, I'm going to say it. I'm putting it all out there. This is my chance to hear what he has to say. Oh, I love it.
So when she asks, "How did you lose your wife on December 9th when she didn't go missing till December 24th, AKA, how
Yes.
did you lose her before she was lost?" He responds with, "There are different kinds of loss."
Like what?
She says, "Can you explain that?" And
Yes.
he says, "I can't right now."
He is such
Because
an idiot.
he did not expect her to clap back with any of this shit. And
No.
then because she kept asking, he ran out of excuses because he didn't have any in the first place.
And always says, I can't right now. So
"I
let him
can't
go
right
and
now."
sit and think for a minute and make up a whole poo story for you.
Yes.
Idiot.
On January 8th, so 2 days after this conversation with Amber, the police start investigating the bay where Scott Peterson said he was fishing that day.
Oh.
Scott Peterson has the balls to drive up to the bay and look at the investigators for a little bit and then drive off.
For what purpose?
Remember, the bay is 90 miles from his house.
Oh my God, I forgot.
During this investigation, he comes back 4 more times, but won't talk to anybody or ask any questions.
So he's just standing there awkwardly off to the side staring at them.
One of the detectives on the case said it wasn't like he was coming to them and being like, oh, like, are you guys getting close? Have you found anything? What is the plan? No, it was like he was coming to check to make sure they weren't looking in the right spot.
Again, tell me you're freaking guilty without telling me you're guilty. That's like exactly what that officer said. If he was going out there and was like, please, did you find anything? I'm stressed out. I'm freaking out over here. Like, what can I do to help? That's different than just like creepishly staring from the background.
Yes. On January 24th, 2003, at this point, Amber has collected a lot of evidence. Scott's kind of in this place where they kind of got what they need. He's probably not going to talk to her much more. So she comes forward at a press conference and is like a baddie, is like, hi, I'm Amber Frey. I was dating Scott Peterson.
I was just gonna say like a baddie because that takes a lot because she obviously did not know the situation and the fact that she was like super helpful with the police and things like that. Like I 100% believe that in my whole heart. And to come forward knowing that people might hate you, people might blame you, but to come forward to try to get the right person convicted of this crime, I think is extremely admirable.
Especially when this case has already been a media circus. So it is, you will be everywhere. This is not just in your small town newspaper. This is nationwide in different countries, international news at this point.
And your life will change forever. And I'm sure she had the thought that like this will also affect her kid because she was a mom, but it was the right thing to do. She did the right thing as hard as it is. She didn't hide. She did the right thing, in my opinion.
And she's a girl's girl. She
Yes.
was not like, oh, well, I was dating this man. And no, she was like, no, I'm not doing this. At the end of January, Scott goes on Good Morning America to do an interview with Diane Sawyer.
Which this girl will get you, man. So this is great.
He lies to Diane Sawyer and said that he was the one who told the police about his affair.
Also, this can be verified, you big fat idiot.
Yeah. He also claims that Lacey knew about this affair and was totally okay with it.
Come on.
Yeah, she was great with it.
Yeah, let's lie about that. Let's lie about that.
He also does that really telling thing where he talks about Lacey in the past tense, even though she's still just a missing person at this time.
That is like the biggest indicator. And like as somebody who, likes the English language, that's what I'm always like analyzing. And like if you're saying that, it's so clear to everybody, buddy.
Yep. A couple months passed, and on March 5th, the police changed the case from a missing persons case to a homicide case. So at this point, they do not have any confidence that Lacey or Connor is coming back alive.
Sadly, how could you?
On April 13th, 2003, a decomposed body of a fetus washes up in the San Francisco Bay.
Oh my gosh. And then April 13th. That's a long time. That's really gives me a terrible image in my head.
A day later, a woman's decomposed torso washes up nearby.
Oh my gosh.
On April 18th, 2003, 5 days later, DNA confirms that it is Lacey and Conner. Scott is arrested that day at a golf course.
Oh, this time he's really golfing.
Scott has dyed his hair, has $15,000 in cash, his brother's ID, and multiple cell phones.
This
He
man's
is
was gonna run.
30, he is 30 miles from the Mexican border.
This was just in time.
On April 21st, Scott was arraigned on first-degree murder in the death of his wife and second-degree murder in the death of their unborn son. He pleads not guilty.
He is the most delusional person that I think we've talked about yet. Come on.
In May of 2003, an autopsy report leaks, and the findings show that Connor may have been cut from Lacey's body before he and Lacey were disposed of.
Why? What sick person would do that if that's true? I'm sick.
Scott Peterson's trial goes from June 1st of 2004 until November 3rd of 2004. 5 months.
He is the worst because not only did he do what he did, he pleads not guilty and then he puts her family and her friends through a 5 month trial, reliving all of this. Oh my gosh.
On November 12th, 2004, the jury finds Scott guilty on both accounts.
Thank goodness.
The deliberations were delayed after one of the jurors, Fran Gorman, was dismissed when it was discovered that she was doing research into the case. She was replaced by an alternate juror, Rochelle Neath. On December 13th, 2004, the jury recommended Scott to be sentenced to death.
Ooh.
On March 16th, the judge sentences Scott Peterson to death by lethal injection.
I did not know that he was sentenced to death.
I did not know that either. And this is why, because in July of 2012 and November of 2015, Scott files appeals.
Ugh.
This appeal states that Scott, of course, did not get a fair trial, but part of the appeal was that they did not include any jury members that opposed the death penalty.
Okay, but I guess I'm not extremely familiar with it, but isn't that the lawyers' jobs while they're like weeding out the jury people?
Yes. So on October 24th, 2020, the California Supreme Court overturns the death sentence due to the jury selection. So I get it. If you don't have one person who opposes the death penalty, then like of course everybody's going to vote for the death penalty, right?
I mean, I totally 100% get that, but I'm just confused by his lawyers because I don't your lawyer get a hand in the jury process? And
I
maybe
mean,
he got a new
not
lawyer
all
here.
of them. Not all. Like I think it's each side gets to pick some of the jury.
Yeah, so like his
So,
side should have gotten because that is fair. That is fair. It shouldn't be all people who are for the death penalty. I get that.
well, it doesn't matter to me because I don't care about the death penalty. They do not overturn the conviction, though. They
Good.
say, no, you're still convicted. You're just life in prison now. In December of 2022, a judge denies Scott's request for a new trial.
Come on, buddy. In what world?
On January 18th, 2024, the LA Innocence Project takes up this case.
No way. The LA Innocence Project
January 18th of this year.
of this year.
Yes. So Scott and his family still believes that he's innocent. I do want to share something that his sister said that made me literally want to strangle her through the screen.
Oh,
I'm sorry, it's not his sister, it's his sister-in-law. So his sister-in-law in the Netflix documentary, when talking about his relationship with Amber Frey, says, I don't even like to use the word affair. He wanted a sexual relationship with someone who was willing. And I never felt like it had anything to do with Lacey's disappearance. So basically, she's victim blaming and saying that Scott had an affair because Lacey didn't want to have sex with him.
uh, ew. Also, someone who is willing sounds extremely problematic. And also, your wife is 8 months pregnant. If she didn't feel like doing it, then you say, okay, wife, you're carrying my child. And that's gonna be okay because it has to be okay. Like, they clearly were doing it if she's pregnant. You know what I mean? Like, he was looking for somebody who is willing. She's being very rude to Lacey, and I don't like it. I don't care for that at all.
In August of this year, a documentary came out in which they interview Scott Peterson.
Oh my.
Scott maintains his innocence. He claims that he was just having sex with Amber Frey and says he understands why she tried to turn into a relationship, but it just wasn't.
Because you're so great, Amber wanted a relationship. That's such a lie.
Like, dude, we have your phone calls. We all heard them.
Exactly. I forgot about that. We have your recorded messages of you lying
He
about being in Paris.
he also claims the police refused to investigate other leads, and he still believes that the burglars abducted her.
Delusional. Once again, he's delusional as can be. And his family, I know they're probably with blinders on, but you are also delusional if you think your son didn't do this.
And that is the disappearance and murder of both Lacey and Conner Peterson.
So tragic, so sad, and shame on that LA Innocence Project. All your accolades or anything that you have are diminished. That you want to try to prove this sicko who killed his wife, who killed his unborn child, who possibly took the unborn child out of her, is innocent? That's wild to me.
Yes, it is wild.
And then also makes me think back to my Watts case where his mistress looked up, do people hate Amber Frey? And Amber Frey was being a girl's girl, man. She was helping out and doing all that kind of stuff. So of course not.
Yeah.
That's just an awful one. That was a rough one to get through, to be honest.
Yep.
So sad. And he like did it. Sorry.
I mean, I know there's no physical evidence, which I think is probably why the people are trying to claim innocence, but there is definitely enough circumstantial evidence to me to say without a, because what is it like when you're sentencing somebody? It's without a
Reasonable
shadow of
doubt.
reasonable doubt. There is no reasonable doubt in my mind.
Also, did you mention how far away the bodies were found from where he quote unquote went fishing?
It was in
Okay.
like the same bay, like the bay is like a circle, and
So
it
that
was
right,
on one of those shores.
I know it's not physical evidence, but like that right there, like you went fishing on that bay and then they tragically wash up on that same bay. You have your hair dyed. You have your brother's ID in your pocket. You have money on you. You're lying about being in Paris. You've said that your wife was lost. You've never explained that. Like, yeah, there's not physical evidence, but I think there's a lot of circumstantial evidence that proves that Scott Peterson is guilty as can be.
Yeah.
Ugh,
Well,
you picked a rough one.
we're back on the rough train, that's for sure.
Happy New
But
Year.
Happy New Year. Thank you so much for listening. Please give us a follow on Instagram at Bloodshed Baddies and send us an email, or you can message us on Instagram with any case suggestions to bloodshedbaddies@gmail.com.
Also, give us a nice review and a follow. That's always really helpful. Tell a friend. And don't forget that intro music is made by our awesome cousin Vinny. He also puts out actual music, so definitely go listen to that. He's pretty great. And tune in next week for our first episode of 2025.
Woo!
Happy New Year!
Bye.
Bye.